Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Chinuch Hashkafa message. We're back now after a short Pesach break, and Emir Hashem will continue every week. This week, of course, is Parshas Kedoshim, a foundational parsha, as Rashi points out at the beginning of the parsha. Roiv Gufei Torah Tluyin Bahen, so many foundational mitzvahs and foundational concepts, but of course it begins with the general mitzvah of Kadoshim Tiyu, we should be holy. And so many Mefarshim deal with what this actually means. But of course we have the famous Ramban, that Kadoshim Tiyu is the mitzvah of Kadesh Atzmoi B'mutar. We have to sanctify ourselves even in things which are permissible. Not to become, as the Ramban calls it, a novel B'Reshus HaTorah, a lowlife, a coarse individual, but with the permission of the Torah, in other words, not breaking any halacha. This is an extremely foundational concept and something really worthwhile thinking about from a chinuch perspective, discussing it with our children and reflecting on the example that we are setting. Of course, when we talk about Kadesh Atzmei Mutalach on a very high madrega, it's talking about individuals which really only eat and only do physical things 100% l'shem shamayim. Can we say that we're all holding there? Probably not. We all like a good ice cream once in a while. We don't always eat 1000% l'shem shamayim. We might aspire to, but it's hard to reach that madrega in its extreme. But that doesn't make this concept not relevant to us at all. It is extremely relevant. It means that we need to reflect on our priorities. We need to reflect on what is more important to us in life. What is our focus? There's a troubling trend happening in the world, and sadly to say, but let's be honest and say it, in the frum world, that the concept of hakshama, an extra focus on physicality, materialism, is on the rise, an outcome perhaps of affluence that exists nowadays. And what happens often is the following. What happens is that we become a very spoiled generation, and the Eibishter should give everyone everything that they need, and harchava and tremendous bracha. But what's happening sometimes is that this tremendous focus on having everything of the best, on having the greatest pleasure and the greatest enjoyments and the best meals and the best holidays and the best furniture and the best everything, to the point where it's becoming a little bit of obsession, and of course everything done al pi halacha with the best hechsher and so on and so forth. It's not just not in line with the concept of Kadoshim to you. It disturbs general mitzvahs as well. In other words, it disturbs our general kiyum ha-mitzvahs, because to do a mitzvah is not just to robotically or mechanically do what Hashem wants. To do a mitzvah means it becomes our life. Gehem chayenu. Learning Torah, keeping mitzvahs becomes our focus, becomes what our main priority is. We cannot have two main priorities. Yes, of course, we can have convenience and we should have comfort and so on. But what's our focus? Where do we live? Where's our heart? Where's our neshama? And what happens often is that there are those that are steeped in the focus on materialism. And then there are those that perhaps that cannot afford it. But another problem arises. And that is that we start to be upset. We start to be jealous. How come someone else could do this and we can't? We start to talk about and ruminate about the fact that we don't have and we wish we did have, and so on and so forth. And I want to share with you that I think from a chinuch perspective, it is extremely damaging, besides being, of course, spiritually damaging. But it's particularly damaging from a chinuch point of view. When children grow up, either with the focus being on complete gashmius, or the focus being on the tension and the complaining about what we don't have, it breeds unhappy children, and it breeds children who have mixed messages about what is important. We need to really deal with this on a chinuch perspective on many levels. First of all, we need to reflect in our own home. What is the conversation? What is important to us? What do we talk about? What do we do? Is our koch, is our excitement about mitzvahs? Are we ready to do mitzvahs and to experience a yontif and experience a Shabbos and learn Torah and do mitzvahs even when it's uncomfortable, even when the resources are not readily available? Are we ready to give up on certain pleasures in order to be more focused on serving Hashem, on avodas Hashem? Also, what are the messages that we're giving to our children? Are they seeing us completely focused on having more, or are they seeing us focused on Shmiras HaMitzvahs? Are they seeing us complain about what we don't have, or are they seeing us instilling a pride about the opportunity we do have to serve the Eibishter? We might not have that much Gashmias perhaps, but we can do a mitzvah. We can learn Torah. We can feel ourselves proud and happy and part of the elite, so to speak, because our importance, our identity, our priority, our status is not defined by what we have, but rather by the opportunity that we have to serve Hashem. That's the conversations we need to be having. We need to talk about it, particularly this parasha, and reflect on the example that we're setting. Also, we need to train our children not to be spoiled. We need to train our children from a very young age that they don't have to have every nash they want at any time. They don't have to have everything they want, and they certainly don't have to have everything that everyone else has. But that needs to be done very carefully. Because it's not just about saying, no, you can't have even though everyone else has it. It's about instilling a pride. You have something much greater. That's not important. What is important? You have the opportunity to learn. You have the opportunity to daven. You have the opportunity to keep a mitzvah. Our family is doing really well because we're trying our best to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the best way possible. So Kadoshim to you is not just another mitzvah. It's a yesod, it's a foundation, and it affects all the other mitzvahs that we do. And we should really reflect on how we can improve the kiyum, the fulfillment of that mitzvah, and transmit those messages to our children. Have a wonderful week and a good Shabbos.